Alright guys, I'm live. YouTube says I'm live, so I must be live. Welcome in. This is Hanging with Dave. I believe this is episode 34, I believe. Yeah, 43. Looky there. I was 10 off, wasn't I? It's a little live show that I do every weekend. I pretty well just kind of come hang out with me. We go down through the comments that's been left on my videos for the past week. You know, I answer anything that comes in through chat. A few disclaimers before I get started here. I do enjoy me a cold Budweiser, so cheers to y'all. Also, I am a truck driver by trade, so you may hear a cuss word or wordy word or something like that. I try to keep it to a minimum, but it does slip out from time to time. A lot of times I cuss and I don't even realize I'm cussing. Also, as far as these YouTube handles go, I ain't very good with the English language, let alone these YouTube handles. So if I butcher them too bad, and I apologize up front. I want to throw out a big thank you to everybody that watches my videos, that leaves comments, that likes them, that shares them, all that good happy stuff. I want to thank you all for all the support you guys have given me. Kind of keeps me motivated to keep doing it. And I don't know, I haven't even looked through the questions this week, but if anybody asked, you know, I got this kind of memory, or you know, what can I overclock it to, or I got this processor on this motherboard, what can I get out of it? It all varies. You know, there really ain't a straight answer. I mean, even if I had the exact same parts that you do, it may be different. So, yeah, there is that one as well I like to throw out, just to make it simple on me, you know. I mean, I can't estimate how good your silicon louder is in your components, so I can't tell you what you're going to get out of them as far as the max overclock goes. But I want to thank you all that came in and joined me here this afternoon. We'll go ahead here and we'll flip you guys over here and we'll get into the Q&A. If you guys have any questions or comments or concerns, throw them over there in that chat box and I'll be more than happy to answer them the best that I can. Let's see here. We have Godfrey Aroa, I guess. How to disable the onboard graphics. Hello, sir, Dave. How to enable the integrated graphics to my motherboard? I do have a A320 gigabyte with a Ryzen 5 2400. I was planning on doing a dual monitor, but one monitor is VGA. I plug it into my motherboard. I have a GPU, which is my main monitor, is connecting. If you're running a GPU in your system, you need to connect both your monitors to the graphics card. You don't put one to the onboard graphics, then one to the GPU. You need to hook both of them up to the GPU. Alright, next on our hit list here today, we have Tyler Johnson. How to update the BIOS. So when I click Quick Flash, I'm getting no disk drive found. I have my USB inserted and everything, so kind of lost here. Make sure it's in FAT32. A lot of the motherboard BIOSes won't recognize flash drive unless it's FAT32. Would be my best bet. That, or try a different USB port. Make sure you're plugging directly into the motherboard and not through the front USB port on your case. That'd be a couple of the easiest things. Let's see here, Tyler Johnson again. This just happened to me. Was updating to F32, but I only have a SSD and the M.2 socket. Not sure what to do now. Was updating to F32, but I only have an SSD and the M.2 socket. Not sure on what to do. I'm not really sure what the problem is on that one. Don't make much sense. Not unless it's not recognizing your M.2 drive now because you updated to F32. if that's the situation, go ahead and finish updating to the highest one that you can, the highest one you want to. That would be my best bet on that one. F32, when mine was on F32, I was running 660, what was it, the 660p or what it's called from Intel. Mine didn't have no problem reading my M.2 drive. If it won't boot into Windows and you want to stay on F32, maybe consider getting a SATA drive, plugging it in. You can get a, even one of the small 120 gig SSDs for 25, 30 bucks now. So that might be an option for you. Maxter 1878, hey Dave, hope you've had a good week. It hasn't been bad. Too much work and not enough relaxation time. Not enough time to put into videos anyways, but it hasn't been bad. Hope you've had a good one. Let's see here. 5 days ago, we have XLR Eagle on how to overclock your RAM. I have a Corsair 3000 megahertz RAM and a Ryzen 5 3500. I want to overclock till 3200. Same Mobo, can I? Depends on your RAM kit and if your motherboard supports the XMP profile on it. Which I've got a video out showing you how to go through that QVL list to make sure it's compatible with your motherboard. As long as it's on that QVL list, it should work. There's sometimes it don't, but as long as it's on a QVL list, you're more likely to get a set of RAM that actually works on it. Dr. Dragon. Hey Dave, greetings from Sweden. I really like your content. Have you ever considered setting up a Patreon? Not really. I know a lot of YouTubers has got them. I'm not too sure on what a Patreon even is. I haven't put no research into it to see if it'd be something I'd even be interested in. With my full-time job, I work 60, 70, 80 hours a week. So taking on something that would take a lot more time, it's gotten hard for me to commit to something like that, which I'm not too sure on what that really is, but I'll take it into consideration. I know the last week, I think it was, someone asked me if I had a Discord. That's why I don't have a Discord. I just don't have the time to really keep up with another platform or another way of doing things. So now I've never, I've thought about it, sure I've thought about it, but I've never looked into it enough or anything to take the time to really find out too much about it. Let's see here. Next we have Easy Clips UD. How to update the B450 DS3H BIOS for the 3000 series CPU. So I still need to update it if I order my B450 gigabyte, or is it BIOS update compatible as of right now? As of right now, I'd normally suggest going to Newegg, because Newegg, if you're going to buy a new one, I go to Newegg, because if you're reading the description, they do support Ryzen 3000 right out of the box. You don't have to worry about updating the BIOS. I'm pretty sure it's the same with any retailer, but I would make sure or get confirmation from the retailer itself and not somebody that's answering your question. Make sure you get it directly from the retailer that it does support Ryzen 3000 series. But by this point, 3000 series has been out long enough, it should support it right out of the box. Most of them do sell with the updated BIOS. I have to at least be able to run the 3000 series processors. Alright, this ought to be a fun one. The Madonna CK? Okay, we'll go with that. Sounds about wrong, but yeah, we'll go with that. How to overclock your RAM? Sir, Gigabyte B450 Aorus M is my board. Ryzen 5 3600, CPU, 16 gigs of RAM. Now getting 2133. How can I overclock to 3200 megahertz? I don't have much experience with that Aorus M, but it should be pretty well. It's about the same thing as I showed in that one with the B450M DS3H motherboard. I'm guesstimating on that. I had someone comment that I read about the B550 motherboard from Gigabyte DS3H motherboard. I told them that it overclocked about the same way as far as the RAM goes, and he said it was completely different. So I'm assuming it would be close to the same thing. I mean, most of the time Gigabyte or Asus usually don't change a whole lot of the BIOSes between versions, but it's possible. It should be close to the same. But I really can't justify putting that kind of money out for the Aorus M motherboard just to do a RAM overclocking tutorial on that. I'm sorry, I mean, I hope it helps you a little bit, but I'm not too sure on what to say. But it should be about the same as what it is on that B450M DS3H. Especially with the B450 that you got, which he says it is, so it should be about the same. I suspect it should be about the same. Let's see, we got Trixie YT. How to update the Asrock motherboard BIOS. Mine says no image detected. If it's detecting the flash drive and it says no image detected, most likely you don't have the right BIOS downloaded. It's actually a preventive thing that motherboard manufacturers embed into their BIOS for you can't download the wrong BIOS and brick your motherboard. So most likely you don't have the right BIOS download on your flash drive. I'm gonna say that's probably gonna be the main thing there. I'd check your image, your BIOS image, make sure you get it directly from the motherboard manufacturer website. Make sure it goes to the exact one. If your motherboard's got Wi-Fi, make sure it's the BIOS for the Wi-Fi, or whatever make sure it's the exact same model number on the motherboard. Let's see here. Deathmaster 3 days ago. Asus Prime B550A Wi-Fi motherboard unboxing and overview. So the only difference between the Wi-Fi and the non-Wi-Fi variant is that the latter doesn't have Wi-Fi, and does the non-Wi-Fi support ARGB. Not too sure on that. Really couldn't tell you. Let's see here. Asus B550M. There's the one with Wi-Fi. I'm assuming it'd be this one he's talking about, the B550M/CSM. I'm assuming. That's a commercial motherboard. Or is he talking about the Prime B550MA, which is a lot more expensive? So this one does have Wi-Fi. The other one probably don't have Wi-Fi. Which right now it's a lot more expensive than the Wi-Fi version. What did he say? Don't have the non-Wi-Fi support ARGB. Let's see if it's got an ARGB header on it. It's got ARGB. It's got an RGB right here and the ARGB right there. So it does support ARGB on the non-Wi-Fi version. Most generally, the difference is going to be just the fact that one has Wi-Fi and one don't. But other than that, the stats should be fairly similar on it. Let's see here, spec sheet for that one. Spec sheets for this one. Built in AM4 280 OC RAM. It looks like the non-Wi-Fi actually take unbuffered memory too, so that'd be one difference. Well, this one here don't say that it accepts unbuffered memory. 128 dual channel. Third generation processors, 4-sided 6 gig ports. What's the difference there? There's something about the M.2s that looks like they're different. Looks like the non-Wi-Fi may accept more different lengths of SATA 4 drive. Looks like D-sub, HDMI, Real-Link 7.1 audio, 7.1 audio. Same there. Yep, that's same there. Of course, it don't have the Wi-Fi on that one, so it ain't gonna have Wi-Fi information. It ain't gonna have Bluetooth. If you don't get the Wi-Fi one, it don't have Bluetooth. Let's see, back ports. Yeah, they look fairly the same. Yeah, I mean, they both have ARGB fan connectors to them. The non-Wi-Fi does take non-buffered memory, which ain't a real big concern to most people. But other than that, they pretty well seem to be the same. Just the main thing is the Wi-Fi and the non-Wi-Fi. So I'd go with the main thing being the Wi-Fi thing. Let's see here. What do you think of all the hype for the new 3080 and all the scanners with the launch? I think it is overhyped. Most people don't need that card unless they play 4K. I have 5700 and it is a bottleneck on my 2700. But I play at 1080p. I don't see the point going 4K. All the hype on the 380, the 3080, and all the scandals. You're talking about all the bots buying them all up and reselling them for outrageous prices for the guys to make a profit on, and all that. I'm assuming that's what you're speaking of. I think it's a bad thing that they didn't put a limit on the cords to at least try to slow the bots down. There is ways that they could slow them bots down to stop that from happening. I mean, as a manufacturer, as a retailer, it'd be kind of hard to stop them completely. But there is ways that I think that they could slow it down. I think the 3080, the biggest thing about the 3080 is the performance for the dollar. I mean, that thing blows the 2080 Ti out of the water. It comes in such a lower price. I think that's the biggest hype about it. I have the 5700 and it bottlenecks my 2700. The 3080 is a nice card if you're going into 4K gameplay, which I now have 2 4K monitors. The main reason why I got 4K monitors is because I started doing my videos in 4K, or I would have never went to 4K myself. And if you need that kind of power, if you need 4K, if you want a 4K gaming system, 3080 is a good option. I think 3080 is way overpowered for what most people play. Most people still, by what Steam says anyways, most people, you know, they're still playing at 1080p, and that 3080 is way overkill for that. You know, if you play at 1080p or 1440p, that 3070 is going to be more than what you need, because the 2080 Ti was set for 4K gaming. And if you play at 1080p, you could probably get away with 3060 when they come out. You know, which I know they ain't in the plans right now, but trust me, they will be coming, something like a 3060 or something. It's lower tiered, it ain't gonna cost as much, especially playing at 1080p. You know, I think the hype on the cards is Nvidia deserves the trust dues because they did deliver so much performance for a lower price tag. I will give them that. And I think the 3080 launch was more of a paper launch than anything else. I don't think they expected to put out a bunch of cards at one time, especially on launch day. I mean, they're out to make money. They want the product out there to sell. But, you know, this ain't the first time the companies has sent out just a few cards or a few motherboards or whatever just to tease everybody with and make them wait. You know, I mean, sad to say, but it's true. Companies do it. And I think that may be what's going on here. You know, some people saying it's because of the shipping, because of what the world's going through right now and whatnot. You know, I think it was more of a paper launch. They sent it out to a few reviewers to get the word out about it, to get everybody hyped up. And they don't have the product ready to actually serve the masses like they should. And they're just keeping the prices of them going up. So, yeah. But you're right, the 3080, if you ain't going to 4K gameplay, you really don't need the 3080. I mean, even the 3070 will do 4K. It should. I mean, it performs at 2080 Ti. Or it's supposed to go to 2080 Ti performance, so it'll even be a 4K gamer. You know, if you play at 1080p, you know, I mean, if you're playing at 1080p, you can get away with a 1660 Super or something like that, depending on the titles you play. You know, which is a little bit older now, but it's still a perfectly good 1080p gaming card. Something like that, you know. Even the RX 580 I got laying back there could even do decent gameplay at 1080p yet. But as far as the scandal that's on it, I think it's a bunch of BS to people even using them bots. You know, I can understand maybe using something like that if you want to buy one for your personal use, but to buy them to resell them, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm just kind of hesitant because I didn't think of it first, but you know, I ain't that money hungry. But yeah, I'm hoping the retailers figure out a way to stop them bots from doing all that. Maxter 1878, can you recommend an M.2 Nvme for my B450 DS3H? You don't have PCI Express x4. I mean, I run the Intel 660p in mine, which is, you know, that's what I boot off of. That's what most of my programs run off of. You know, the mass storage I got, that's for my videos and whatnot, my games. But, I mean, I've been running mine now on that 660p for quite some time, and I'm fairly happy with it. As far as I know, the Intel 660p, which I think they went to the what was it, something, they changed the name on it or something. Intel 660p. Let's see here. Yeah, 660p Intel 512 gigs, yeah, for about $65. You know, and I've never had no problem with mine. Some people say it slows down when it heats up. I do pretty big file transfers to and from that drive. Mine's, I've never had a problem with mine. I've never noticed it downclocking or slowing down any, which I really don't run nothing to really monitor that. But it seems to be doing all right. You know, and some of my videos, when you're looking at it, you know, half hour, 45-minute video at 4K, that's a pretty big file that's transferred. And I always, whenever I render mine out, I render them out to my Nvme drive. That way it's faster. Then once it gets rendered out, then I switch it over to my storage drive. But it seems to be doing all right. And it kind of surprised me whenever I put that in there, because it was one of the cheaper drives on the market at the time, and it booted right up with no problem, with no issues. So I definitely recommend the 660p. I mean, you know, it may not have the fastest read and write speeds, but just about any one that you want to go with would be all right. Let's see here. We have Luffy, my B450 DS3H and Q300L motherboard doesn't really fit. I have to use extreme force. Your B450 DS3H and your Q300L motherboard doesn't fit. I really don't understand what you mean it won't fit without extreme force. Mine went, whenever I did that build, I actually did two of them, the exact same thing. I used two of the DS3Hs and the Q300Ls. Mine slipped right down in without no hassle. Q300L. I mean, it's a micro ATX case. I don't know. Let's see here. Let's get a close up of the interior layout of it. Let me flip you over here. Maxter 1878. Cheers, Dave. I'll check UK prices out on it and let you know. Yeah, that's usually one of the cheaper drives. The standoffs. Now I know the Gigabyte motherboard. Speaking of the standoffs on them, the Gigabyte motherboard has one standoff hole that don't really line up. I don't know why they still put this thing in there. That's their motherboards, AMD. And if I'm not mistaken, they do it with every one of the motherboards. Hey, look, I even picked the B450 DS3H motherboard. Oh, that didn't work out too well. This standoff right here, I'm hoping you can see that on camera. But it's this last one right here on this side. It will not line up with any hole in any case. I don't understand why it won't line up. I don't know why Gigabyte puts that hole right there, because no case manufacturer that I've ever seen actually uses that. But it's something they've been doing for quite a few years, and nobody's ever been able to explain it to me. If we get zoomed in here, if you're looking at the motherboard standoffs and where this one's located at, it's right here along the middle row. There should be a little nub sticking up for this one, right here. And this here should be a standoff hole, but it don't line up right with it. The hole for the motherboard's actually pulled in some for some odd reason, but they won't line up. You got one in? I'm glad to hear you got one of them standoffs in. But in all the years of building computers, I've never been able to figure out why Gigabyte adds this. The only thing I can figure out is it ain't quite long enough. Motherboards ain't wide enough to reach this hole over here on the case. So I don't even know why they even put that one in there. I don't know. I can't figure it out, but it'll actually hit like right in this area instead of right here. I don't know. That's a Gigabyte thing. And yeah, they are, whenever you're putting them standoffs in, they are sometimes they can be kind of rough to get them stored down in that metal, especially with something with a painted interior like the Q300L. Sometimes when they paint them, that paint kind of gups up them the threads, but screws down in, and it can be pretty tough getting them started sometimes. Let's see, what else do we got? I did the difference between the Wi-Fi and the non-Wi-Fi. Nojio O on the Gigabyte RX 5600 XT. Very helpful video. Keep it up. That was one of the benchmarks. Well, thank you. I plan on keeping it up. Don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. Hopefully not, anyways. Let's see here. We got Jinzendo, I guess we pronounce that. How to overclock your RAM. Hey man, I have the same motherboard, but I can't go higher than 2667. Well, I have a 3200 megahertz kit on my RAM. Any help, please? You got 3200. Oh, I don't know why it won't let you go above 2667. Try to manually type into 3200 megahertz. That'd be my best guess. If your RAM gets at 3200, I know that motherboard supports 3200 RAM. I mean, I think it supports up to 3600 megahertz, I believe. I'm not too sure why it wouldn't let you go up past that 2667. Especially if you're manually overclocking it. Maybe the XMP, for some reason, has got limited to that, but which it shouldn't. If you got 3200 megahertz RAM, I really couldn't tell you why it wouldn't let you go up past the 2667. I've never had mine do that. Let's see here, 2 days ago, we have Rizvord the Great, the Gigabyte RX 5600 XT. He says, sweet. No, thank you, appreciate it, glad you liked it. Maxter 1878, the Gigabyte X 5600 XT WindForce benchmarks. Looks like a nice card for the build. Yeah, it's. I think it's a pretty rounded build. Now that $900 build, I think it would last quite some time. I think it, the 5600 with the 3600 processor, I think it does a pretty good job. Low Tiffy, my motherboard might fall. I can only get one in. They should have one in the middle of the case that's automatically installed for you. That comes installed. It's got the little riser on it. It ain't necessarily to get. You don't really have to have all them standoffs in there. But it'd be nice to at least be able to get the four corners started. And like I said, they can be a little bit tough to get them started, especially with them painted interiors. I'd definitely keep trying until you got the other one started. I mean, I don't know how else to really help you without coming over to actually do it for you. I really couldn't tell you how to help you get it done. I really couldn't tell you. Sorry, I can't help you much on that one. But yeah, I'd definitely at least try to get the four corners and that one center one that sticks up at least. Because if I ain't mistaken, I think that motherboard's got 7 or 8 standoffs on it. Being a micro ATX, probably has 8. So I definitely keep trying until you get more than just the one in. Let's see here. Next we got Dennis Hickerson. How to update the B450 motherboard BIOS for the Ryzen 3000. This is good, but why does he have 2 caps on? Well, I had 2 caps on. Actually, I didn't go back. I didn't notice I had 2 caps on. But sometimes when I do my videos, I don't have time to just sit down and record the whole video at one time. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 different days. And you'll see it changing shirts or changing ball caps. Or even the background may change a little bit or whatever. But yeah, I do change clothes every day, so it will. And like I said, you know, I don't always get to sit down at one time and film my videos, so there may be a little bit of differences you see from time to time. Hell, you may even see my beard grow. Gilly 92H. That's real that the Case Gamer Nexus said that is bad. Yeah, that's the one that the Q300L is the one that Gamer Nexus says it didn't have very good airflow to it. Maybe you should change it. I built the Thermaltake V21 V-core. The standoffs were integrated on the case. Was very easy to build. Yeah, I've never tried that case. Let's see here. What else do we got here? Yorkshire Kamar, I guess the way you pronounce that. Asus Prime B550. Can I connect 4 case fans? My case has 3 front ARGB and 1 back. That motherboard's only got two system fan headers on it. But if I'm not mistaken, I think it's got an optional CPU fan header at the top of it that you could actually use. So if you connect your back one to the one by the CPU, you connect the other one of the front fans to the bottom fan header on the motherboard. It's down on the bottom part of the motherboard. Then you got the optional CPU fan you can connect your front top one to. Yeah, you can connect all 3 of them. As far as the ARGB goes, you'll have to buy some kind of splitter to hook them all 3 up to the one ARGB header, or buy you a splitter to do so with it. But yeah, you could. Oh, he's got 4 fans. If you have 4 fans, I'd buy a splitter. It's just a lot easier. If you have 4 case fans, I'd probably run 2 different splitters. The one down beside the CPU where your back fan's supposed to plug into, run a splitter off it for your top one and your back one. Or no, he has 3 front fans. I'd get a three-way splitter and connect your front fans up through that 3-way splitter to the one chassis fan header, and then the back fan I'd hook up underneath your CPU to your chassis fan header back there. That'd be the best way to do it, I believe. Looks like we got some chat going on over here. You're talking about the Thermaltake V12. I'm 11. I don't have extra money. Yeah, but the only thing I can say about it is good luck with them standoffs. I'd at least try to get 3 or 4 good standoffs installed into that case. That's one of the problems with them painted interior cases, actually. Which they do make everything look nicer, but a lot of times that paint gets into them standoff holes and it makes it hard to install them standoffs. Love them or hate them, that's what cases came of. Let's see, we got Matt Holmes on the 5600 XT benchmarks. Great video, Dave. Question though. There's 3 different frap stats in the top left. What's the differences between them mean? The frap stats. The first one on the far left, that is what your fraps is at that particular time. The middle one is your minimum fraps, and the one to the far right is your average fraps. And you're talking about the MSI afterburner I used in that video. I thought I clicked the link for it. There it is.
Alright, all. I can tell you.
So let's do this. We don't want to hear me echoing. No, I look fun in that one. He's talking about these numbers right up here. This 113 fraps right here in this example, that would be what it's running at the current. The minimum fraps is 168, which I don't know how that is when it's running at 113. And then you got the maximum frap there. That's what it's showing right there. And of course up here is your CPU, GPU temperature and percentage usage. And then you got your CPU right there, 3600, which runs your temperatures and your percentage usage. Then your RAM, I don't know why, but I always throw the RAM up there just to show you how much RAM is being used, because some games actually get limited by how much RAM you have in your system. $168 seems to be the average fraps. Let's see, Luffy, could we schedule a Zoom or Google Meet? I'd have to think about that, bud. Never mind, got 2 more in. That's what I figured. A little bit of elbow grease. A little bit of elbow grease will go a long ways. As far as doing a Zoom or Google to help somebody out, I've never done nothing like that. But yeah, you got 2 more in. That means you got 3 plus your middle standoff. Depending on the location the other 2 you got in, I just keep working at it until you get them put in. Like I said, they can be tough. You're 11 years old. You know, it can be a little rough when you're trying to get them back in. But back to this question, yeah, that's what them three examples represent right there. They're actually right here, which is totally different than what's shown on up here at that particular point in time. These are your averages. This is usually the first one. Is usually your what it's at right now, or your frame rate at that minute, at that second. And then this one here is usually your minimum. I think that's what it is. And then your maximum. That should be what you're running at right at that time. That should be your minimum, and that should be your maximum. Let's see here. I got, can I feel your fear? No, you can't feel my fear. Nobody wants to feel my fear. Thank you so much, sir. I just choose profile 1 and automatically change my speed RAM from 2666 to 3000. I don't have to change anything, right? I just hit save and exit. Yep, that's right. Once you choose profile 1, everything changes. You hit F10, hit yes, and you're good to go. As long as your XMP is good for your RAM. If you start having blue screens or your black screen to where your screen won't even come on or something like that, or you start seeing a lot of stuttering in your games or stuff like that, maybe you want to go in and readjust it. But yeah, I mean, as far as XMP goes, it should change automatically. You hit save and exit, and that should be it. I can feel your fear again. Thank you so much, sir. I just chose profile 1. Yep, the same one I just answered. What do you do? Put in, you must copy and paste it or something there. You put the same question, same comment on the same video. That was a little different. Dr. Dragon, nice video. That looks that you try a wide range of stuff. Personally, would like to see more budget builds and reviews. I'm taking that into consideration. I actually read that one the other day when it came in. And I have set the channel up on the budget side of things. You know, it's kind of what I try to focus my channel on. It actually got me thinking for another build coming up. I'm actually thinking about doing like a $600 PC gaming build. If I ain't mistaken, I think Dr. Drag was in the chat. But, you know, I'm thinking about, I want to get back to that. You know, that was on the 5600 XT, and I know a lot of people can't afford that kind of price tag for just a video card. As far as buying, you know, like I used to get a lot of stuff off of eBay to build my systems with. But right now, with everything that's going on, I just can't find no deals on eBay at all. You know, so I'm kind of stuck with, and I buy everything out of pocket. So I'm kind of pretty well stuck with Newports. But I like to get back down into the lower budget. You know, my last system was a $900 gaming build. And I know a lot of people, especially right now, can't afford $900 for a gaming system. But I did tell you how you can save, you know, a couple $100 on that build just by swapping out the motherboard, swapping out the case. And then you save you know, you get down to about $750 or so just by swapping them two ports out. But, and you know, if you ever seen my Welcome to Dave's Techway video, which is just a little intro about the channel when I first started it, you know, and I said every once in a while I had to hit it on the high end or stuff. So, you know, and I try not to focus too much on the high end stuff, but every once in a while, you know, I do end up with high-end ports that I use, or higher-end ports that I use. But I like to get back into the more budget stuff. I know here lately, you know, like the 2070 Super I bought for mine, the 4K monitors I bought for my setup, you know. I didn't even do any kind of review or anything on the camera that I bought. I haven't did anything, you know, the microphones that I bought, which I bought another set of microphones. I was thinking about maybe doing an unboxing and overview of them, but I don't know if I will or not. I really don't want to cover too much of the camera gear because I don't know enough of it to really understand it myself, let alone to give a unboxing of it. But that comment got me thinking about the way the channel's heading. And the channel is kind of heading in the wrong direction as far as I'm concerned. I want to bring it back down to the budget side of things, but I don't want to do like everybody else either. You know, a lot of people throw the graphics card and pre-built system from 6 years ago and call it the gaming system. I don't want to do that. You know, I kind of focus on the upgrade path, which right now it's AMD. You know, but yeah, I want to try to get the channel put back down on the budget level or stuff. And you know that, you know, 5600, it is a great little video card for the price, which I'm not even really sure what I would pay for that one right off the top of my head. Yeah, you're looking at $260, $300, and I know a lot of people can't afford that kind of money. But that is for kind of a higher end build for the channel. You know, $900 is kind of a higher price point. But I do want to get back down into the budget stuff. Let's see here. We have Amber Abu Mad, I guess the way you pronounce that. Overclock your RAM. Will it fix low GPU usage? That depends. Updating, overclocking your RAM may. You need to look at the stats of the computer and what it's doing while you're gaming. If it's got low GPU usage, it could be the RAM holding you back, depending on the speed of your RAM and how much RAM you got. It could be holding you back. It could be a CPU holding you back. I mean, it's possible that it is your RAM that's holding your GPU back. So it's possible. I mean, you'd have to run like I do. I run hardware monitor while I game to see what my system's actually doing from time to time when I get the chance to game, which ain't very often. And it'll tell you what your GPU's running at, it'll tell you what your CPU's running at, it'll tell you what your RAM's running at. You know, you kind of figure out what's holding what back. You know, a lot of people call them a bottleneck. You know, like if your RAM's hitting 100% usage and you ain't getting very high GPU usage, that means your RAM's holding you back. If it's CPU, it means your CPU's holding back. You know, it's possible by overclocking your RAM you could fix a low GPU usage. Would be, let's say, Dr. Dragon. That was on last week's live show. Would be really interested in pairing the 3600 with the 3000 series GPUs to see what the CPU bottleneck is like. You know, I actually, one of the other YouTubers I actually follow actually did that. His name's Cal. The name of the channel is Bitwit. He actually took a 3600 XT when he was looking at a AIB card and mixed it with the 3080. He downclocked it to where it would be the regular 3060. Or it'd be the regular 3600 instead of the 3600 XT. Which everybody knows is just the XT means it has a little bit higher frequency boost to it. But he knocked it down to 4.1 megahertz. For it would act like a 3600 with the 3080. And it kind of surprised me. Before watching that video, you know, I figured a 3070 would be bottlenecked by the 3600. But watching his video, because he gets stuff handed to him, so he can run all these tests and whatnot. But even with the 3080 and the power of the 3080, the 3060, he didn't actually show the percentage numbers like I do. But the 3680 XT was only running, you know, 10 to 15 frames, 20 frames slower than what the 3950X was running, or the 3080. So it ain't much of a bottleneck even on the 3080. I'm still considering buying the 3070 and doing the test. I do have the 3600 over there in the $900 gaming build to test with it. I was actually thinking about buying the 3080 just because I can, but I can't even find one of them in stock. Like we discussed earlier, but you know, I'm kind of interested in getting my hands on a 30 series card to see what the 3600 can actually do, or to see where the cutoff point is. Like I mentioned just a few seconds ago, I'm thinking about building a $600 gaming PC, which is only going to have a 4-core processor in it. I think that'd be an interesting test too. Quad-core processor with a 3070. I think that'd be interesting. Which I've said it before, you know, it's kind of hard to recommend for you guys to build anything with less than a 6-core right now. But with the way prices is and whatnot, you know, it's hard to suggest to go to a 6-core when you can get a quad-core for a decent price. Right now, it's kind of hard to even put prices together for builds. But yeah, it'd be interesting. I'm kind of anxious to see what a 3600 can do with a 30 series graphics card, especially since it's going to be a while till they come out with the lower tiers. Like I mentioned earlier, you know they're going to come out with a 3060. You know they're going to come out with something that's going to replace the 1660. They're going to come out with something that replaces the 1650. But, you know, they'll probably be next year before we see them cards. So yeah, it'd be a little interesting to I like to get my hands on one to test it with that 3600. Like I said, he does do a pretty good job of it, and from what he showed on his benchmark charts, the 3600 was only showing, usually 15 to 25%, well, not even percentage, 15 to 20% frames per second slower than what he was getting with his 3900 or 3950X. I forget which CPU he's running on the high end of it. But it was pretty interesting that the 3600 wasn't holding back the 3080 a whole lot. It was holding it back some, but not a whole lot. I always expected, with the 3070 running 2080 Ti, or better than 2080 Ti, that it would be a bigger bottleneck than what he was showing in his graphs anyways. Let's see here. We have XX Get Washed XX. How to update the Asrock motherboard BIOS. I have the Azeroth H310CM-IB motherboard. Can't find the BIOS for this motherboard. Can someone help me, please? Let's see here. We have, let's copy this right now. Azeroth. I don't even know what kind of motherboard that even is. A CM-IB. Asrock definitely took a different turn with that motherboard. Okay, usual benchmarks, Reddit, crucial memory. There we go. You come down here to the Azeroth. Is that it? 310CM. Nope, that ain't even the right motherboard. Reddit, crucial, memory UK, it must be a UK motherboard. Azeroth, Intel. See, that ain't even the right motherboard. Let's see here, Azeroth. Let's go to Azerock.com. Let's go and put this here into the search. No data. BIOS finding. Well, we know that. We know how to find out what BIOS you got. Basic input output system. No data. Latest BIOS update. 310CM. I like to know where he actually got that motherboard from. Model name finding. Oh, that ain't gonna do me no good. BIOS version finding. Yeah, I know how to do all that. Yeah, I know how to do all that. That ain't helping me none. Latest BIOS updates. What is it? H310CM. H310. H310. BIOS. Can't find Azeroth BIOS for the H310. Yeah, that's on the Reddit. That must be an iBuyPower thing. Run on PC. Motherboard drivers download. Azeroth. That's wrong motherboard. So why is it telling me to do that? Because I know how to tell what version it's on. I need to find a new version of the... I buy fire. He must be running a pre-built. I buy power pre-built PC Asrock. Started by Intel 7. Retail board that there no. If I can upgrade my BIOS, please let me know. I guess my first thing would be I'd contact iBuyPower. I mean, it's a gigabyte motherboard, so but still yet it's being a pre-built. This is like a lot of laptops. You go to try to update the BIOS on a laptop, you ain't gonna be able to find them as well. Dell's the same way, HP's the same way. It's hard to find their BIOSes. And I'm not seeing anything close to this thing. And of course, it may be because I'm in America and you're over there, over in the UK. And so it may not be showing up on my Google search. Because I doubt that board's even available here in the US. CMIB. Yeah, I don't even have that motherboard even available to me. Oh, excuse me. Whoops, wrong one. That must be one that they only released over in the UK. That's 1151 socket. It's refurbished. Huh. I really don't know where to tell you to get that one for the motherboard. And the Reddit, the guy said it is not a retail motherboard, maybe one for pre-builds. Yeah, by what I'm seeing, it's through iBuyPower. I contact iBuyPower through that one, for that, because it ain't a retail board. So you may have to go through iBuyPower depending on how old the system is. I contact iBuyPower and see if they can give you an updated BIOS for it. Because that's about the best thing I could do for that one, because it ain't even showing up. Luffy, I've got the exact case in motherboard. It's like I have to use extreme force to get my motherboard on standoffs. The ones that are pre-applied. I do take those off before putting the motherboard in. This is my first build and I am a little confused. Help! Luffy, how you doing with them standoffs, buddy? Did you get them figured out, did you? Last time I read in chat, you got a couple of them put in. 168 seems to be the average. Nvme. Red guy says it's not a retail motherboard. Are you American? Buddy, I'm about as American as they become. Yes, I am American. I actually live in West Virginia. So I'm probably a little backwards to some of you out there. But yes, I am American. And that was Fonzie 2909. Let's see here, 16 minutes ago. And he even edited it. He must be drinking too. Well, Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro 4x8 3600 megahertz CL 32 gig kit work with this motherboard with a Ryzen 7 3700X. Don't know. Can't give you straight answers on that. What is your specs? I'm assuming you mean the specs of my system. Talking about the spec of my system, what do I have? I don't even know what I have anymore. I've upgraded so much. I have the Asus X470. Hold on a second. It's back there someplace. Asus Prime X470 Pro motherboard. I have the Ryzen 7 2700. I got the EVGA 2070 Gaming Black Edition. I have Ripjaws 5 32 gigs running at 3200 megahertz speeds for my RAM. I have a Corsair 650 watt power supply. Right now it's all housed in a Focus G case. Recently I have added a Fractal Design Celsius Plus S28 into it for the cooling of the 2700, which I don't recommend that. You have to cut up the case to get it to fit. And then I added a 3-pack of the Corsair the matching fans for the Fractals that comes with their cooler. I think that's about the main specs of my system. I do have the Elgato 4K capture. That's how I'm got my camera hooked up as a webcam, actually. Yeah, but it seemed to be a pretty solid little system. Nothing real fancy to it. Since I've got into 4K video, I am thinking about upgrading my my CPU again. That 2700 is a little laggy when it comes to the 4K editing. I like to have something a little bit faster, but we'll have to see about that. I mean, it does all right. It's just whenever I do the scrubbing of the timelines, awful jumping, and sometimes I gotta wait for it to catch up with where I'll put the head at and whatnot. So I'm actually thinking about updating my CPU again. And I do have a card reader in the front of it too. I don't even know what it even is anymore. It's on the channel. It's one of my older videos. Planning on buying a 3090. Nah, not the 3090. I'm actually thinking about buying the 3070, mainly for testing purposes. Because if I buy one, it's going to go into my main rig eventually. But I am thinking about buying a 3070. Of course, everybody's on the mindset of, with a 3600. Hold back the 3070. So I'm planning on buying a 3070, which that 3070 is going to be a pretty big upgrade from my 2070 Super. Which, if it was for me and it wasn't for the channel, I probably wouldn't even be buying the 3070, because that 2070 is fine for what I do with it. I really don't need the upgrade. Like I discussed in last week's video, or last week's live stream, if I go with the 3000 series GPU, it's for the channel. I really don't need it. I'm happy with my 2070 Super and the performance it's giving me. Even right now, I'm running 2 4K monitors off of it, and I'm more than happy with the performance of it. And if I buy and I mentioned a little bit earlier, you know, that I was thinking about buying the 3080, which is getting to the higher end computer components. I realize that a lot of people are more interested in the 3070, but you know, I was thinking about doing it just for the channel. You know, the graphics card that I'm running is more than enough for what I do. But yeah, and I've been getting hit a lot with where the 3600 hold back the 3070, which I have the 3600 in the $900 gaming PC build I just did. So it'd be kind of hard for me not to cover that kind of content. But I'm like the rest of you, you know, I gotta wait till the card is released. Wait till I actually get lucky enough to hit that buy button just at the exact second to be able to get the card. Yeah, you know, so I gotta buy it, you know. This stuff ain't handed to me. But oh, that was a big old boom. Someone shooting someplace. Maybe that's why my dog's going crazy about there. But yeah, it's I don't plan on buying the 3090. It's a little much, I believe. I like to have the 3080, but you can't find them in stock. The 3070, we'll have to wait and see what happens when they come available and see how their availability is. See if I'm lucky enough to hit that button just in time to get to it. So, do we have any other questions that come in? Nope, no more questions that came in on the videos. Anything else you guys like to ask me over there in chat? So Adam Kodak, hey Dave, I got a GTX 1080 the other day. So which PSU should I get? That's just for the regular 1080. I believe they recommend like a 600 watt power supply on that or something. Let's see here. The 1080 PSU. You say the 1080. The power supply for the 1080. If you get a wow, them things still expensive. Let's see what their recommendation is. They don't have a recommendation. Why don't they have a recommendation? They should have a recommendation. Everybody's got a recommendation. Everybody's got a recommendation on power supplies. Why don't they have a recommendation on a power supply? Thermal design power is 180. Features. I'd say if you go with at least 650 watt, you'd probably be alright with that one. I don't see why you need to go much more than a 650 watt on it. Nobody's giving me a recommended power supply wattage on these things. $180 watt determined. I'd say at least a 650, I'd say. Yeah, 750. That would give you to where you ain't running your power supply too high. I can't believe everybody gives a recommendation on them, though. That's crazy. Everybody gives recommendations. Let's say if you went with, well, right there it is. Let me flip you over here. Right here's the MSI GeForce GTX 1080. You get none of the specs of it. It's actually only recommending a 500 watt power supply. But yeah, I'd go with probably 600, maybe 650, 700 watt power supply, just to be on the safe side of it. Something like that. Because the way the power supply curve works, you want to try to be right in the middle of it. It's kind of hard to explain, but you know, you don't want to run it to its max capacity of what a power supply can put out, but you don't want to run it to the lowest end either. You want it to kind of be right in the middle. So I depending on what CPU and whatnot you're running, I try to shoot for a 650, 700 watt power supply, somewhere around in there for that video card. Zula Sif, yo, what's up, bud? I'll be right back, guys. Alright, all. Sorry about that. Mother Nature kind of called there. Let's see here. I have a 630 watt, but a cheap Chinese one. My PC turns off when I run a game. 630 watt, but it's cheap Chinese one. But the only way to really test a power supply to see if your power supply caused you problems would be to replace it. Depending on what components you actually have in your system. And if you ever seen any of my build videos, you know, I have used some 80 plus white power supplies, which I don't use nothing less than 80 plus. They do have a certification to them. If they don't have a certification to them, then I don't use them. I try to go with at least bronze or better, because they do come with better components built into them. They're a little bit more expensive, but if you're like me, my power supply's been through 8 different builds now, or something like that. You know, well, not really 8 different builds, but 8 different upgrades, and I'm still using the same power supply I had 5 years ago, and it's still doing good. It's an 80 plus gold, 650 watt Corsair. But that gold rating or the better rating power supplies last a lot better, a lot longer, and a lot better. You know, you can get a power supply tester and test that power supply. But I don't really trust them either. You know, I'd spend a little bit of money, get you a well-known 80 plus bronze power supply and hook into the system, and try it that way. That's the way I've always tested them. I have 2 or 3 power supplies back there on my shelf that I use for testing, and that's the only thing I was using them for. They're 10 years old, but that's the only thing I ever did was hook them up to the system, make sure the power supply was good in the system. Which, yeah, I know it sounds like it's a waste of money, but it really ain't. Not when you work on computers like I do. Lucifer, I have an AMD 2700 8-core and a 2760. Is this safe to OC? Depending on your motherboard that you have, and the RAM that you have, and I mean, you know, is it safe to overclock? It's always safe to overclock. Your system ain't gonna let you push that CPU, RAM, or GPU beyond to where it's gonna actually do damage. You know, that's the great thing about technology today. When I got started in computers, you could push them beyond the limits and actually fry your components. Nowadays, you can't do that. They have limitations built into the CPU. They got limitations built into the RAM, where they will not let you actually physically hurt your components by overclocking them. They just won't run at them speeds. Adam Kadui, so a 750 watt EVGA gold would be more than enough. Yes, for that 1080 system, yeah, that'd definitely be more than enough. I think that's probably a little expensive, ain't it? 750 EVGA gold. But like I said, you know, you put more money into the power supply is a good thing. Yeah, it ain't too bad for 750 watt for 140 bucks for the 80 gold. That ain't bad. That ain't bad at all. I think I paid more than that for my 650 watt back in the day, actually. No, just because you overdo your power supply, it won't fry your other components. A power supply will only do what it needs to do. It won't take more voltage than what it needs. You could actually do more damage to your components by not having enough power going to them than what you could by sending too much voltage to them. But them power supplies are pretty good about dedicating enough power to them. I don't know, without going within a 3-hour conversation here, it'd be kind of hard to explain. But the power supply ain't going to give your ports more voltage than what they need. That's part of the power supply's reason for existence, is to take that 12 volt out of your wall and turn it into usable power for your components. So it won't send more volts to your ports than what is needed. Again, that's why I recommend going with at least an 80 plus certified certified power supply, probably bronze, or a gold rated if possible, if you can afford it, which right now power supplies is pretty rough. My motherboard is an AMD B450. Is that good enough? Depending on which B450 you've got. I mean, even that Gigabyte B450 I've got, you can get some decent little overclocks out of it, as long as you don't try to push too far on it. And that's the thing with the Ryzen processors with the AM4 platform, they're all overclockable. It's just how far they will overclock. And like I said at the beginning of the stream, you know, you're asking about overclocking, and I got these ports, what can I push it to? Even if I had the exact same ports, you know, the silicon lottery may be different between the components, so I really can't answer the how far you'll be able to push it, which component, what. What temperatures should I watch out for? As far as the temperatures go, as long as your CPU stays, your CPU shouldn't start thermal throttling until about 95 degrees or so. Preferably, if you can, keep it below 90 degrees on your CPU. Now your GPU, it varies some, but they usually don't start thermal throttle until about 100 degrees, which take that with a grain of salt. But normally with your GPU, which your GPU shouldn't be hitting them kind of temperature anyways, but GPU is usually about 100 degrees. Your CPU is about 95 degrees. I usually like to keep mine 10 to 15 to 20 degrees below them limits, if possible, which ain't always possible, but it is possible from time to time. It depends on the case and how your system's set up, you know, your airflow and whatnot. But, you know, I would definitely, as far as your temperature goes, no more than 85, 90 degrees on your CPU, GPU, and about the same. Somewhere in, right around that range, about 80, 85 degrees. And then, like I said, 95 is where you'll start running into thermal throttling. But the other thing is, when you're talking about overclocking over time, you can set an overclock today at, say, 4.3 gigahertz. Within 6 months, you may have to go in and turn it back because it wears out the components. It may not be no longer a stable overclock. That's one thing to keep in mind, guys, when you're talking about overclocking. Okay, so I'm going to overclock to 4 gigahertz at 1.25 volts. That'd be a good starting point. You got the 2700? Yeah, I'd start out with something like that. Try 4 gigahertz at 1.2 volts. Actually, AMD says you can go up to 1.45 volts. I don't recommend 1.45 volts. But if you can get 4 gigahertz at 1.25 volts, that's pretty good. That'd be a pretty good overclock on a B450 motherboard. Zulus, is that good? Yes, that is good. Adam, how did you get into PC building? If it is stable, it is preferred is what I have on my 2700. Okay, I'm playing Fortnite. I'll see how hot it gets in different situations. Yeah, that's the best thing about overclocking. Just check your temperatures and see what kind of temperature you're getting. How did I get into PC building? Kind of funny you asked that one, because it won't be this week's video. I'm hoping to get this week's video finished up, but I'm actually last week that kind of came up, and it came up the week before, and I've had people in other streams bring that up, and ask me about how I got into PC building and whatnot. I'm actually going to do a video on it. I've decided to put my life out there on the internet and see what people think of me. Whenever I was in high school, you know, here in my local area, whenever you get to high school or 10th grade, you have a chance to go into vocabulary school or a vocal school to kind of learn trades outside of what regular high school teaches you. And I'm talking back in the late 80s when I did this. So yes, guys, I'm old, I know. Go ahead, put it in the comments, put it in the chat. Yes, I'm an old man, I know. I'm an old man, I'm older than dirt. Yep, I got you. You know, but I was looking to get into auto body. I was looking to get into auto mechanics. None of them was available at the time. All the classes was filled up. And even before that, I was into consoles. And I got a Commodore 64. And I played around with the Commodore 64 computer a lot. Which I really enjoyed video games, even up to the point where I got to high school. I enjoyed the consoles, I enjoyed computers. I do walk funny and I do talk funny. Even for the region I come from, I walk funny and I talk funny. Which is saying a lot. I got picked on a lot. So my computers and my gaming was just kind of a way for me to escape my reality. So I got addicted, pretty well got addicted to it. And since I couldn't get into auto body or auto mechanics, I started a PC repair. I was able to get into PC repair. So that kind of put me down the path of working on and repairing and building computers. Which, like I said, you know, the video got coming up, I'll go more in depth with that. But that's where I came from. That's where I started from. You know, in the short sense, that's what it is. How about 1.2 volts at 4 gigahertz? You could try 1.2 volts at 4 gigahertz. Well, I'm glad you're with me. Adaman Kuchiko, I guess the way you pronounce that. I'm glad you're with me. Yeah, it's, especially whenever, back in the day, back in the 80s, man, it wasn't cool to be into computers. Nowadays, if you're into computers and you're into, you know, overclock and you're into repairing computers, you know, you can still be cool. Back then, it wasn't cool to be into computers. Back then, it was a whole complete different world than what it is today. But yeah, I do have a video coming up on how I got into computers and where I came from. I have decided to do that video. I've been kicking that video idea around for quite a few months. I still ain't too sure on what I'm going to, how much information I'm going to include and how much information I'm going to exclude. But I am going to do a video on where I come from and my background in computers and whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of the breakdown of where I came from and how I got into computer building and how I became an enthusiast and whatnot. If there's any other questions or comments, throw them over there in the chat now. I think I'm just about ready to wrap it up for the night. I've had a long hard day at work. And I really haven't had dinner yet. Told the girlfriend, you know, once the live stream was over with, we'd go grab us a bite to eat. So, yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to going to grabbing something solid to get in my belly. I want to thank y'all for y'all watching my videos. I want to thank y'all for the comments. You know, it's what makes my live streams available You know, it's why I do the live streams, because of them comments y'all leave. You know, I really appreciate the likes, the shares. You know, the community's been doing pretty good this week. Of course, last week we had that big spike due to the gentleman that threw me out there on Reddit, which I really appreciated. This week we're doing pretty good. The community's up to 930 members, so we're doing pretty good. Enjoy dinner, Dave. Now, I'm going to try to, buddy. I'm going to try to. If you guys wasn't tuned in last week, there was some problems with the 3600 and the stock cooler. I was going to do an overclocking guide on that. Couldn't really do that. So, yeah, I got a video coming up on some temperature testing on the 3600 with the B550 motherboard that I've got going on. And like I said, I want to do that one about where I came from and a little bit of my history on the computers. Matthew Holmes, sounds awesome. Have a good one, brother. You have a good one as well, guys. But I'm planning on doing that one too. So we'll see what happens. But if you like this kind of content, make sure you go down and give me a like. If not, there's that dislike button below. There's that comment section below. I'll go through them next weekend, just like I did today. I answer all of them. I'll also go back and type back to all of them. And all that good, happy stuff. You know, I don't leave you guys hanging. I'm really don't get too much into the replies and answering back to the replies. Mascor 1878, take care, Dave. You take care too, bud. Appreciate you being here. You've been here quite often with me. Appreciate it. Yep, see you later too. Zuzufi, I guess is the way you pronounce that. Appreciate it. If you really like this kind of content, make sure you get out and hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. Also, there's descriptions. In the description below, there is links for Instagram and Twitter. You come over there and follow them if you like to. You know, I don't kill your inbox, but I do put out information about when I go live or if I have to cancel the live show for some reason. Or I will also put in there if I got to cancel the live show. I try not to do that very often. I try to move the time frames around if I have to before I have to cancel it. Next week it'll also be at 5 p.m. where I normally do it at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But next week will also be at 5 p.m. just due to the fact that I got a full-time job and they require me to work next Saturday. So hopefully after next weekend I'll go back to my 11 a.m. scheduled time. Eastern Standard Time here in the U.S. But with all that being said, I think I'm going to get out of here for the day, guys. Thank you all for the comments. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for hanging out with me here. Looks like I've got about 9 current viewers watching me. Appreciate you all being here. I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Until next time, you all have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video or live stream.